never find where you are. Won't be, 'cause I never see why you're so afraid that you are away from me. You're so afraid that you are away from me.
Hello again, everyone. My name is Stacy. Thanks for coming back to us. This is Stigma Does Not Define Us with Mental Health, and this is their podcast in an effort to get men's mental health awareness out there. Today we have a fine gentleman. This guy wrote this most beautiful book. His name here is Ryan Harland. He wrote Riding the Storm. I read this. And it was a quick read. It was a beautiful read, a very transparent read about his experiences as a young man. And we're going to get right into it. Ryan, welcome to us. I'm going to switch us over here so that you have the big screen. Boom. There he is, everyone. Hi, Ryan. How are you?
Hi, Stacey. I'm good. How are you?
Very good. Thank you for joining us. I ordered your book on Amazon. I'm over here in the US, and anyone in the US, I didn't have a problem getting his book. I know you had mentioned a few people had, but I did find it on Amazon. What I love about this book, as I said, is the transparency and how brave you were to talk about everything that you went through. And I just want to start with that. I want you to, for about 5 minutes or so, just sort of paraphrase the book. I know there's a lot in there, but we would like to hear what you went through. And then we're going to move on to how things got better for you. Go ahead.
Well, thank you for buying the book in the first place. That really means a lot. It's nice that it's getting out there across the pond. It's doing well over here, but it's nice to see it doing well in other countries. Yeah, basically, my book is all about my journey of my mental health. I've had it most of my life. I don't remember a day when I haven't had it, but I didn't know who I was for a long time. I just thought I was an angry kid or just a messed up kid in the head and things like that. And it was just... excuse me, just life kind of just threw loads of tragedy at me and just didn't help in my journey of discovering who I am. I lost my brother and other events, it just led me to where I am now. And obviously I finally got the help that I needed and got a diagnosis that, defined who I was. Not doesn't define who I am, but it kind of labels me. So I've got something to work on. And I've just kind of gone on from there, obviously wrote the book, just trying to get out there as much as I can, get other men especially to open up, because I know a lot of men struggle when it comes to talking and understanding their own feelings. I just want to show that it's okay to be who you are, talk who you are, and, share your experiences.
Exactly. Now, in the book, if you don't mind getting into a few details, I know your mom and your dad, who you refer to as SD, as sperm donor. Do you feel comfortable talking about that experience and your brother Kev and all of those things? Yeah, that'd be great. Go ahead and tell us about your mom, your dad, and Kevin.
Yeah, my mum's always been my best friend. She's been my role model for most of my life. She was a mum and a dad for me, because sperm donor was never around. He never done anything with us. He didn't really love us, I guess. He'd done his job when he made me and my brother. Obviously my brother was 4 years older than me. He was such a lovely soul, Kev. Just taken too soon. He was 33 when he passed, but he had a tragic life. And his experiences outweighed mine, and I think that's just took his toll on him and his health and his decisions in life. And unfortunately, he passed away suddenly when he was 33. But sperm donor wasn't a nice man. He was always out of trouble over here for different reasons. Peeping Tom, he used to go look through people's windows, taking strange men back to his house, abusing them, drugging them, stealing money from the local council here. He was a nasty, nasty man. And and obviously then he abused me and my brother. Fortunately for me, it was just a once, but unfortunately for Kev, it was for a good 10 years for him. And he never spoke about it. He just bottled it up. And that kind of just made Kev go down the path where he thought that that's what love was. So in his later life, he abused himself. He used his body for anyone else's enjoyment because he thought that was what love was.
Right.
And
Right. Right. And I do want to say how sorry I am for the loss of Kev. What a sweet soul he was, and what he endured, trying to, and as he said, trying to keep the focus off you, keep abuse from you.
Yeah.
I'm sure those were promises that were made to him by SD, and just horrible, horrible human.
Yeah.
And what you endured was, I don't have a word for it. It was just, it's horrifying. And I think what you said toward the end is people who haven't been through it, what they might say to you, and things that people have no business saying. If you would talk about that a little bit, I found those points very valid.
Yeah. Lots of people obviously don't understand, and we've had negative comments over the years, judging, and I think most of it was just the way I kind of judged myself. I used to think people were looking at me thinking, oh, well, he's sperm donor's son, so he's going to do exactly the same to his kids, and which I think is absolutely disgusting. I could never do anything like that. And you hear so many times in the press and that when other people have been arrested for these crimes, they say, oh, well, it happened to me when I was a kid. And I'm just like, well, how could you put someone else through that knowing how you felt? Right. I just think it's a low excuse. And yeah, we've had some nasty comments and nasty stuff because people just don't understand. Unless you've been through that, you're never going to understand. So I get that. But if you've got nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. Right. That's the way I look at life.
And I think what I found interesting as well is someone would say, oh, sort of like that wouldn't have happened to me, or I would have handled it differently, or I would have, stopped it or something like that. And your point is you have no idea how you're going to behave in a situation like that when you're subject to something like that. I like that point. If you can expand on that.
Yeah. The thing is, people don't understand. They just think it's the one night, one opportunity. But he was grooming both of us for years. He always made us be scared of him after what you see him beat my mum up and things like that. So whenever I was around him, I was like a little boy. I was always scared. And when mum and him split up, I still went to see him. So mum didn't get any arguments or anything from him. And I never understood, obviously, back then, why Kev didn't. Obviously now I do. So I used to go over there to see him just to keep the peace and that. But whenever I was around him, I was like a little boy. Even when I was taller than him and bigger than him, I was still like a little child in my mind. I just went into my shell. And obviously when it happened, I just froze. And I thought, I've got to do what he wants because otherwise I'm going to get punished.
Yeah, you don't know what he's going to do. It's frightening. No, it must have been horribly frightening.
But when people say, oh, well, you should have done something about it, you were bigger than him, they don't understand. They don't understand the build-up. It's not just a one-off opportunity. Yeah. It's an ongoing thing. He built up to that.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? He'd done it for 10 years with Kev, so he knew what he was doing. He knew that I was scared of him, so he just took an opportunity because I was around his flat one day just to see him, and he took his opportunity.
There's all types of abuse, and not to say one is worse than the other, or if it's worse for men than it is for sexual abuse is horrible for everybody. But I think I think, especially for men, women are more likely to go say, I think women are given that space to say, this happened to me. And where men don't, so many men who are sexually abused never speak of it, where I
Thing
think
is,
more women do.
what I've noticed is, and I don't judge or anything like that, but I find if a woman has been sexually abused, straight away they're the victim. I mean, obviously, both are the victim, but they're understood and give 100% support. But if a man is, they judge them straight away.
Yeah.
Say, why didn't you do something about it? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? You know, I'm sorry, but just because I'm male doesn't mean that I can't be
Abused.
attacked like that.
Yeah.
Because it's more in it. There's more to it. It's not just a one episode, like I said earlier on. It's a build up to it. There's a grooming period. There's a narcissistic period. There's a control period. You know, there's a build up. They get you into where they want you to be. They want you to be scared of them. They want you to do anything they want, so they don't. So you don't get punished by them for saying no.
Yeah.
And that's what needs to be put out there more.
Yep.
And I do hate it when people get judged for saying how they feel, and they said and been told, "Oh, you're wrong to feel like that, or you're wrong to do that." No, we're human too. That should be embraced more, not ridiculed and not judged.
Right. I understand.
Sorry, high horse moment. It just
No. This is the stuff. You know what I'm saying? This is the stuff. Now, tell us about the moment that you decided I need help now. What was the event before that? What was the moment that you said enough is enough?
It's hard to explain. I've been in and out of counselling for most of my life, and obviously I didn't. Even after it happened when I was 19, you know, for a good. How old was I when I was due to get married? I didn't say anything for a good few years, and it was when I was due to get married. I was engaged to my ex-wife, and I just thought one day, you know, I'm going to speak to her about this because obviously, you know, that's the woman I'm going to share the rest of my life with. She needs to know. So it was kind of an ongoing process from then. And obviously, then I put all my mental health on the back burner to sort out everything with sperm donor. And then obviously, a few years after that, I got divorced and that, and I just went downhill. I started doing drugs, just sleeping around. I really abused myself. So it was I just got fed up of being me, and it was either do something about it in a bad way or do something about it in a good way. And luckily, I chose the right way and went to my doctors and said, "Look, I need help," and they put me in touch with a local mental health team, and that was where my journey started to where I am now. That's where I got my diagnosis, and that's where I went into groups with other people in the same position, and I didn't feel alone for the first time in my life. I didn't feel different.
Right. That's amazing. And your formal diagnosis is emotional intensity disorder. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And that, I've heard people say that a lot, that once they have a diagnosis, they do have a great deal of relief because you're like, okay, at least it's something, you know, you can start to make sense of it all. Now the local men's mental health group, how did you find them, and where are you located in case someone listening who might live within driving distance there? Tell us about that group.
Well, I'm on a little island on the southeast coast of England in Kent. Yeah, well, we're trying to expand to other areas, so hopefully there'll be other areas that have got groups at the moment. But where I am, you know, it's a small island, so there's a few people. Obviously, there's a good few thousand people here, but everyone knows your business, so it's just started recently, and it's been such a success already. We've had men coming out who said that they used to be one of these macho men, said, "Oh, I don't care what I feel, I don't care what I think, I'll do what I want." And now they're coming to groups, breaking down, crying, and saying that they feel human for the first time, and they feel completely relieved that they've got all their stresses off their shoulders because they're able to voice how they feel to other men. and we're not there judging. We're listening to them and supporting them, and that makes a big difference.
Big difference. Does the group have a name, or did it just start organically? Or
Yeah, it's called Men Talk.
Men Talk. Okay.
Yeah.
It's and is it?
Say again.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, is there like a mentalk.com, or is it on Instagram? How would they find it?
We're on Facebook at the moment. I think we're going to expand to Instagram and get a website and things like that. You know, it's still early days, but you can either reach out on Facebook now or reach out to me if anyone's listening. You know, you can always find me on Facebook or Instagram. You know, I'm always here to listen.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll put all your information at the end. I do a little information about how to find you. And of course, I'll post your book in the end as well. How are you doing during the pandemic? How were things during the lockdown and everything? Did you feel things creep back up? Anything like that?
The first couple of months, I was really struggled. I felt so alone and things like that, you know, because I couldn't leave the house. If I ever left the house, I went to see my mum because she's on her own. So I still had that bond, but in the end, I kind of turned it all to positive. It gave me time to concentrate on me and what I needed in my life and make some changes. So I've done a lot more writing, went back to drawing, and just took me time for the first time in my life, because I've always put other people first before myself.
Right.
And then it was nice to just say, well, no, I'm doing this for me now. And and so I managed to turn it into a positive. Wasn't easy, but I got there. Because it's weird, because when I was a kid, I was so shy and quiet at school and things like that. And now I'm the complete opposite. No one can shut me up. And
well, we're grateful for that. Your journey, be proud of that journey. You said, sometimes I have a hard time taking a compliment. You have a heartbreaking beginning, and you turned it into something really beautiful by mentoring others now. And so take those compliments. You have a beautiful journey, and you're helping others with it.
I'll try my best. But no, I've always, the last couple of years, I've always thought I'm grateful for going through that, if that makes sense, because it's made me who I am today.
Yep.
I'd rather be me than something else, because I like the way I am.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of my friends, they've got their everyday jobs and that, but they haven't got something as passionate as this, and the opportunities that this could bring and things like that. I just think I'm not lucky, because I don't wish anything bad on anyone, but I'm grateful for kind of experiencing some of that, because it's led me to who I am sitting here right now. Today.
Yeah. Well, I say it a million times, no experience is wasted. And you have taken, you know, I love to say you've taken coal and turned it into diamonds. You know, you know, by
it's taken 44 years to look this good, okay?
You're funny.
even though I need a shave, but you know, we're going to sort it out in a minute.
We'll take you as you are. No, that's all right. But I think, you know, I get it. I get when you're saying, you know, I'm kind of proud of it, because when you've come from such a disadvantage, you know, from such a horrible person who put you on, gave you such a horrible childhood, and then to be able to be here now and say, not only did I beat this, I'm helping others. I get why you're proud of it. That's a huge obstacle to heal from and be triumphant from, and you have. And so I get why you're saying that you're kind of glad you have it, because it gives you something to brag about. You accomplished a big thing. Would you mind sharing the steps process, so people understand what that is? And then you went from steps to stairways. Can you describe that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, steps is you can, obviously it's a group therapy. So you've got males and females there, and basically they just break down and describe obviously your typical mental health and what you're going through, and try and change the way you think and look at situations. Because normally people with emotional intensity disorder go from 0 to 100 just like that with emotions. So they try and, after an event, you look back here and you put it down in sections where the trigger was. So you kind of learn that process. Then when it comes to you losing your anger or losing your emotions at another time, you can kind of realise where you went wrong last time, so you can go better this time. It's a big process, but it's a wonderful journey.
Do you know what STEP stands for? It's STEPPS. Do you remember what the actual? It seemed like it was an acronym for something.
I don't think we ever was told that. I know it started in America, the actual program, but oh god, this is a couple of years ago now. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, I'll find it. I'll put it at the end when I do my little contact information for you. And then from steps, you move on to stairways. Now, tell us about that. What's that difference, or how does it change?
Yeah, it was the same program, but it was over longer and more in depth, because the first one was 12 weeks every week. Then the stairways was for a year, but it was every 2 weeks. So you looked into things more deeply.
More deeply. Got it.
Yeah, it was more in depth for the whole thing. And yeah, it was great.
So as a result of this, I'm curious, what are you observing about yourself? Like I loved your sunglasses analogy, that you have like 12 pair of sunglasses, and before therapy, there is no looking at a situation without at least one pair of sunglasses on, like this filter that sort of distorts it to your own mind. Prior to therapy and now on the other side, can you give us an example of something that you would have maybe flown off the handle about, but this time you handled calmly?
Yeah, I think the major one I used to struggle with was rejection and abandonment. I used to fly off my handle if someone said no to me, or they couldn't be there for me and that. So now I'm kind of in a place, if someone says that they can't be there for me, even though it still hurts, I can think, instead of going to the first reason I used to think of was, they don't love me, they don't want me in their life anymore, I don't matter. Now I look at it and say, well, they could be doing this, they could be doing that, or perhaps they've got commitments. So I kind of look at things more on a wider scale now, and instead of just straight negative.
Right.
Which is still hard, don't get me wrong, I still have my bad days and I still have my moments. I'm never going to be 100%, but we'll get there.
I don't know if you've ever read any Eckhart Tolle, if you've ever heard of him, the book called A New Earth. That's one, at least for me, and I'll say to you and to anyone listening, Eckhart Tolle taught me that so much of what people do around us has nothing to do with us. So much of what people do in the way they respond to you on any occasion has far more to do with them than it does to do with you. And at least for me, because I had a really hard time with worrying about things, just as you're speaking to. And after reading that book, I was like, it was kind of like I was able to release myself from worrying about what did they mean by that, or why am I not being included, or you know what I'm saying? It gave me the ability to let it go, because so much of what they do or don't do has to do with their own struggle and not you, but you just happen to be the one there, if that makes sense. So certainly I would recommend that book. Do you have favorite books? Do you have a favorite author or speaker or influencer, anything like that?
Not really. I just think about me all the time. I'm my own influencer. I just trying to make myself the best person I can, I guess. So whatever I do, I just try and put 110% into it, and and see what I can go.
That's fabulous. And how about a fun question we always like to ask? Do you have a favorite movie or a favorite movie character that sort of infuses hope into you and makes you go, you know what, I'm going to be okay?
That's, I don't know, I've got so many films from when I was a kid I still love, like Goonies and films like that. Happy Go film. I love a romantic comedy, and I love anything with a happy ending. I used to struggle at one point. I used to think, why can't my life be as happy as they are in the movies?
As
but then,
the happy ending.
Yes.
Yes.
But now I
Yeah.
know that the happy ending is what I make it. You
Yeah.
know, it's not down to everyone else. It's down to me at the end of the day. So
Wow.
yeah,
That's fantastic. Now, at the beginning of your book, you said there's a lot of people that don't want me to write this. I noticed that. Tell me about that. Who was concerned, or it seems like you were advised not to write it, but you decided to
yeah.
anyway? Mhm.
My mum, for a start, you know,
Mhm.
even though she
Mhm.
helped me write it, she wasn't a big fan. I think she was just worried about the outcome and what people would say, and I think she was worried
Yeah.
about being judged as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
family on my mum's side as well. You know, haven't shown any support even since the book's been out. They've bought it,
Mhm.
but they haven't read it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I know a few of SD supporters who, even at his funeral, were still sticking up for him. I know
Mm.
they wouldn't have liked it, but then that's another reason why I put it out there, because I thought the people that believed in him or
Mhm.
thought he was okay needed to know the truth.
Well, he was a master at fooling people. You know what I'm saying? He was a
Yes,
master at
yeah,
very narcissistic personality disorder. I don't that's what I was thinking when I was reading about him. He's classic for narcissistic personality disorder, and had a way in other settings to make himself look like
oh,
just this
definitely.
clean-cut
Because
guy. Yeah.
I know at one point he started joining the church, because I don't know if he
Right.
thought that will protect him in some
Right.
respects. So I know a lot of people from the church turn up to his funeral. I didn't go to his funeral. I
Right.
was going to, because my nan wanted me to take her. But
Mhm.
the morning of the funeral, I just said to her that I can't do it. I feel like a hypocrite
Can't
if
do
I
it.
went.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
didn't. I didn't go.
I think it would have been hard, especially people who didn't know what was going on, to hear them go on and on about, "Oh, how
Yeah,
wonderful he is," and it's like, "Folks, you have no idea what he does behind closed doors." That must
yeah,
I kind of agree. It wouldn't have been a good environment for you.
yeah. My uncle, who was still around at the time, that was sperm donor's brother, he
Mhm,
still went because he took my nan. And
mhm,
he said it's lucky he didn't go. He said because there was people that praised him up, people slagging me off, saying that
mhm.
why isn't his boys here and that, why wasn't he told that Kev had passed? And I think my frame of mind at that time, I would have probably kicked off.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I was a bigger person and not gone. I
Mhm.
think I would have felt a hypocrite if I had gone, to be honest.
I
Especially
understand.
doing what I'm doing now,
Yep.
it probably
I
would have gone
completely
against
understand.
me.
Yep, and I think you stood up for yourself, and
Yeah,
no, I'm not going to memorialize this man
yeah.
who did these horrible things to me and Kev and so many other people. I completely agree. Another question I like to ask, and sometimes, there's degrees of mental illness, there's degrees of struggle, and there are people who are just naturally happy-go-lucky, and they see somebody who might be suffering with depression, anxiety, PTSD, whatever it might be. Sometimes their approach isn't so great, or not the most sensitive, or though their intention is to be helpful, it's not. So my question to you is, for someone who might be observing someone they're worried about, what do you feel the best way for that person to approach someone who's suffering that won't turn the person off?
That's a hard one. Um, I think they've got to be open and honest with this person, say that they're concerned, and
Mhm.
and tread carefully, but don't. I don't know. Don't smother them with too much love. You've got to be blunt, but kind
Mhm.
at the same time. You've got to say to them that I can see you having trouble, and
Mhm.
just reassure them and say that I'm going to be there for you. I'm not
Mhm.
going anywhere, but you need to realise that you need help, and just
Mhm.
guide them in the right direction. I guess you can't do it for them; they've got to be the ones to
Right.
do it. But
Exactly.
to know that they're there for them, it should be
Mhm.
enough of a comfort for the people suffering to know that if they do go forward with what they need to do, they've got that
Mhm.
support behind them.
Excellent. And I think from your book, I just I want to add to that by saying anyone approaching someone who's struggling, I loved your point. You don't want to hear in the darkest hour from somebody, well, I would have done it this way, or I would have done it that way.
Yeah.
Like we said earlier, you can't say those things because you haven't been in the middle of it. So I think you just need to approach that person openly and with as much compassion as possible, and just let them know you're there. But I like your point about, you can't do it for them, and you can't overdo it either. If they're ready to talk about it, they are. If they're not, they're not. But just having that you're there is a big deal. So to close, Ryan, I just want to give you a chance to the gentleman who might be watching, who's in a very dark place. What do you want to say to him today?
That just remember, you're strong. You've got this. You've got it inside you. Don't give up. Just reach out, and you don't know where it'll take you. Just reach out and get that help that you need. And you don't know, this time next year, you'll be in a completely better place, and you'll be grateful that you took that first step. It's a hard step, but it's a step that's worth taking. So just reach out.
Yeah, that's perfect. That speaks to our mission. And, what I love about everything that you said is it's that step. Asking. So many men simply aren't asking for help because they don't feel like they have the space to say, I'm not okay. And I know Mike, who started Mentel, said that over in England, finding those services can be very difficult. So, but they are out there. I'm going to post about your support group, and I certainly encourage you to, somehow start other chapters in other areas of England so that more men have a place to go to unload, so they know that they're not alone. Yeah.
I feel like this has been my calling for my life. I felt like since this book come out, even though I've had some negative feedback from it, the positive I've got out of it is immense, and I know this is what I'm here to do.
Yeah. I think, sometimes you have to move on from the apology that never came. And the way he sort of skipped out on real justice, he was gone before, you know what I'm saying, before he got a real chance for any consequences, and that was bitter.
Yeah, it took me a while to get over that, but now I'm at a place I think, well, he couldn't hurt anyone else anymore.
Yes.
So, okay, I wanted more justice for Kev, not myself, for Kev, because obviously Kev passed before he went. But now I've put it into book form. I feel like I've taken control of the whole situation. He's got no more power in my head, my heart, or anything. Well, it's not in my heart at all now.
Right.
But in my head, it's all on my say-so now. When I want to talk about it, I will, and I talk about it in my way. He's got no more power in my life, and I'm the one calling the shots now, and he can't.
I love that. I love that.
Stop it.
No, but you're so, you know what I'm saying? You're so buoyant. You know what I mean? You're not down. You're not heavy. You're light. You know what I'm saying? You've come to a place of healing that's beautiful.
Because this is so passionate to me. I love the fact that I've done this, even though it's not a happy-go love story or things like that. It's true shit that's happened to me, basically, but I've put it in place now that I can say, well, this is me, but this is what I was, and this is where I am now. So if I can do it, you can do it.
Right.
I can overcome that, so you can. And even friends, I had a friend Saturday night just open up to me and said that he was abused when he was a kid and that. And he said he's only just started talking about it now after 30 years. He'd only told his wife and kids that day.
Wow.
And he told me that night because he was out on a few beers, and I just put my arm around him. But if I can just help one person deal with it, then my journey's done. But I don't want to stop at just one person. I want to make this my full-time job, really.
Yeah.
I'd love to do this, go motivational speaking, go on TV, films, whatever. I want to get that message out there.
Yeah. Yep. This is fabulous. And this is what I'm finding people are doing who have gotten on the other side of that darkness. they're now becoming that mentor to that person who doesn't believe they can. And I think you're it's just fabulous. I encourage you to write more. You can write, my dear. I couldn't put this down. If you start a new group, I'm happy to advertise that.
Yeah, definitely.
We're trying to grow our following on my personal page, also on the Mentel page. So thank you so much, Ryan. And I just want to show your book again. This is Riding the Storm with Ryan Harland on Amazon. I got it in 2 days. I want to encourage everyone to go look for it. It was very, very well done. Thank you for joining us, Ryan. You were wonderful. I do appreciate you coming on. All right. Well, thank you. You have a good rest of your evening.
I will do. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you later.